Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In my previous video, I talked about the amazing and the extraordinary benefits that Norway has to offer for international nurses, midwives and care assistants. And Norway is one of the best and most beautiful countries in Europe with the highest work-life balance and the best quality of life. I also mentioned in the previous video how desperate Norway is in terms of shortage of healthcare workers and how they are massively recruiting in order to fill in the gaps in their healthcare system. And there is a plan by the Norway government I actually mentioned with verified statistics in the previous video about how the Norwegian Health Directorate is trying to fill this gap in the next few years. The Norwegian government projects that about 30,000 new healthcare professionals will be needed over the next decade. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I will leave a link to that video in the description. You can go back and watch that video. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the step-by-step process that you can go through in order to register and become a nurse or midwife in Norway. So without any delays, let's get straight into today's video. But if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, kindly consider subscribing and then like this video. Okay guys, welcome back. So in order to start the process of becoming a nurse or midwife in Norway, the very first thing that you have to do is to submit your documentations to the Norwegian Health Directorate. So because in Norway there is no nursing or midwifery exam that is required and to write to become a nurse or midwife, the Health Directorate in Norway do receive all the applications and then check if they are all up to the Norwegian nursing education standard before they will approve and give you the full authorization to register and practice as a nurse or midwife or any other healthcare profession in the country. So I'll be going to the Norwegian Health Directorate website and then I'll show you how to navigate and submit all your documentations to apply for authorization to practice as a nurse or midwife in Norway. But before I go ahead to do that, I just need to make a note here that if you are from countries like Ghana or India, where your nursing certificate is a diploma level certificate, you might not directly meet the Norwegian nursing education standard. So in this case, you will have two options. The first option is to go ahead and apply and submit full documentation while registering as a nurse, where they will give you partial authorization and then you can do supplementary trainings or adaptation programs in order to get full authorization to practice as a nurse. Or you can actually register with the Norwegian Health Directorate as a care worker, get a job in Norway as a carer, and then later on upgrade to become a nurse. But then I'll go through the process with you so that you can choose which way you want to go with yours. So I'll be using my laptop here, so bear with me. Right, so authorization and license for healthcare personnel in Norway, and then I will click search. Right, so the first that came, this is the website for the Norwegian Health Directorate. So we'll click authorization and license for health personnel, and then we'll get into the website, go through the whole process, and then see how to apply. So there we go. So you have to choose the profession that you're applying for, and then they will, by answering these few questions, it will help get tailored to what you are actually looking for. So the profession is general nurse. That's general nurse here. Click continue. So where did you obtain your basic health education? So this question is for those, whether you are in a country which is part of the European Union or the European Economic Area, that is EU or EEA. But if you're applying from African countries or Asian countries, that means you'll be applying outside the EU or the EEA. So that's why we will click here and we'll choose outside EU or EEA. And then we'll go on ahead. So apply for authorization as a general nurse educated outside the EU or the EEA. So because Norway is part of the EU, there are special requirements for, or easier requirements for nurses that are coming into Norway from the EU. But we are applying from outside the EU. So before, it states here that the Norwegian education as a general nurse is a bachelor's degree. So if your education is on a lower educational level than a bachelor's degree in your country of education, we recommend you rather to apply for authorization as a healthcare worker. So if your education degree is, education level is a diploma, that would be lower than the Norwegian nursing education standard. So we will go down and see the documents that must be attached. So when apply, you need to attach your diploma or degree certificate, your transcripts or diploma supplement. So you need to get all these documents ready. So your transcripts must be ready. A detailed overview of the curriculum showing the specific subject content, not only the name of the subject and the duration of the education. So you need to upload or you need to submit your transcript, which is stating the overview of the whole curriculum that you went through during your school days, not just the name of the subject. It has to state the subject name, the duration of the whole period of the education, and then the content of the subject. So a theoretical content must be stated in the learning objectives for each individual subject. Practice must be expressed with number of weeks or hours. So when you were in school, we go for clinical lessons and then supervisions and all of that. All of that has to be stated in your transcript or your curriculum overview, and it needs to state the number of hours that you did in supervised training or clinical training or anything like that. And then the curriculum must be valid for the years the applicant studied. Example, if you studied from 2010 to 2015, the curriculum has to cover those years. The curriculum also needs to provide detailed contact information to the educational institution. So if I'm applying and submitting my documentations here, I need to get all the curriculum from my school. I need to state a detailed contact information from the school that I completed my nursing education. And it has to correlate with the years. And then it needs to have a list of required text and all the syllables also attached. So usually, because the schools, the universities and the nursing colleges that we complete, they have done some of these processes for other people several times, so they know what to do. But you need to make sure that you double check with them and make sure all the required documentations or all the required details are being submitted. Possible additional documentation. So these are the additional documentations that you will need to add. So confirmation on completing licensing exam, which could be your license certificate. And you need to attach authorization for practice, which in general would be your PIN, which is showing that you have the right or you have the authorization to practice in that country. You need to also show a certificate which is showing your relevant work experience after graduating from school. So this certificate must be issued by the employer. This is not the ordinary CV that you would have. This one has to come from your employer. Your employer needs to state when you were employed, the job title that you were employed with, your job description, and the percentage of the position and the period with which you were employed. So if you had two different employments, you need to make sure you get your previous and current employer to submit some form of a CV or your relevant work experience with the company or the hospital's letterhead or stamp on such paperwork. So it states here that employment contracts, CVs, and recommendation letters are not sufficient documentation. So it needs to be a proper relevant work experience from your employer, stating when you were employed, your job description, and all of that, as I mentioned earlier. So it has to be issued with the workplace letterhead or stamp. It has to be signed by the manager of the workplace, for example, the department head. The manager's name and position must be typed in addition to their signature. So the site actually lists, in detail what is very required of you. So it's very easy to apply and submit this way because you know what they are looking for. So there is a note here that in some countries, the education institution must send the transcript directly to the Health Directorate, or the authorities must certify the documents before sending them to the Directorate of Health. So that country will be at the bottom of the page. We'll go through that shortly. So you also have to know that the following regarding your documents. So your documents has to be scanned in a PDF copy of the original document. If it's a colored document, you have to scan it in a colored format, and photographs of documents are not allowed or are not permitted. You need to make sure it's arranged properly according to the page numbers and not flip them, anyhow. Make sure it's done nicely and professionally. So before we go on ahead to apply, and it states here, any attempt to obtain recognition with fraudulent documents will be reported to the police. So you make sure that all the documentations you are sending are genuine. So you will see here that these are some of the countries that their university education transcripts has to be sent directly from the school. So if you're from a country in this list, you cannot send a transcript directly. It has to come from your school. So we'll go on ahead and then apply. So we'll go to the application form, authorization and license. So when you're applying, after clicking the Authn link here, this is where it brings you to, and then you need to choose international because we are applying from outside Norway. We have to choose international, and then we are applying without a social security number because we don't live in Norway and we don't have social security number in Norway. So this is where we are now, and then it is in Norwegian language, so I'm going to translate it into English. Yeah, so I've got it translated in English here. So we are logging in, and because I have my logins, I have my username and password all done already. But if you don't, you will come down here and then you create a new user. It's a very simple process. You just put your name, details, and your password in, and then you just verify, and then you create the account. So after doing that, you can just come in and type in your username and password, and then you can log in. So I will type in mine. Okay, so because I have already submitted forms previous, so but whenever you log in, it will go straight to where you apply. So I will just go to a new copy. So I'll continue with the new copy so that I can show you what I'm going to do, what you're supposed to do. So that's just logged in now. So all you have to do, you need to translate the whole place to English. So here, you have to put in your date of birth, your name as it's on your passport. So your first name, middle name, surname, and if you've changed your name. See, because it's being translated from Norwegian to English, some of the translation are not very exact. So you see, and here would mean yes, and in there here would mean no. So you have to be very careful when you're doing that. You put in your gender, mobile number, and then your email, and then you fill the form. So I will put it in, but I'm not gonna show that on screen, I wouldn't want anyone to know my personal details. So have you ever changed your name? Is no. Then you citizen or from a citizen of Ghana, proud Ghanaian. To next. So when you go to next, here it says land. The land means the country that you are applying from. So where are you now? So I am from the United Kingdom, but because this site has been translated from Norwegian to English, they don't really have a proper Norwegian name or whatever for United Kingdom or England. But all it's usually in something Britannia. So I'm going to look for Strata Britannia. Yeah, so it's Store Britannia. Yeah, so Store Britannia, that's where I am. And then I'll put in my address and then my postcode. So this post number here is postcode, and then the posted is the town or the city where you live. So I'll put it here. Sorry, but I won't be showing that, so that people might start sending me stuff to my home. So my postcode, I'll put in my postcode, and then the town that I am in is here, and I'll go to next. So after putting in your postcode and the country you're submitting from, then you go to next. So there we go. So we'll translate this to English as well. So occupational group. So the occupational group, we are applying as a nurse. So I'm going to use this tutorial as a nurse. So there is physiotherapy, podiatrist, healthcare worker. So if you're applying as a healthcare worker, you can choose healthcare worker, health secretary, auxiliary nurse, midwife, and all of that. There is carer here if you're applying as a carer. And also I'm applying as a nurse, so I'll choose nurse. And then authentication type. So I'm choosing authorization / license. So that is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the authorization to practice as a nurse. So that is me. And I'll translate again to English. It says here, have you lost or had your right to work in another country restricted? I've never had that, so I'll choose no. And usually no is the one that comes with in there. Okay, so here you have to put in details from the school you completed. So major education, yeah, and then country of education you choose. So my country will be Ghana. The level of education would be the diploma. Educational institution, so I'll put in the school that I completed. Title of the diploma would be general nurse. The education form, that would be the month, date, and year that I've started school, and the month, date, and year that I completed. The date when I obtained my degree, then I'll put the date here. So then I'll put the address of my educational institution. So you put in the address here, and that is it. And then you can collect this confirmation here that you're giving permission to the Health Directorate to obtain this information. Then you go straight on to your work experience. So after clicking next, that is the next step. So you go to work experience. So do you have relevant work experience? Yes. And then the form will come in. So the land will be the country where you are working. So I am in the United Kingdom now, so I'll just put in the UK, which will be Store Britannia. The employer or institution, then you put it here. Your current position, you put it there. Work from and to, so when you started working and when you finished. If you're still there, you put in yes, you're still there, and then you can put in your job title here. If you have any other previous work experience, they have add work experience, so you can click on, then you add that as well. Then you come on to the attachment. So the attachment bit, so you have to put in, I'll translate it to English here for you to see. So you will have to put in all your documentations, the documentation that I mentioned earlier. And if you don't remember, you can go back with the video and then get that documentation. You need to put in all the documentations here. So it shows you the steps in order to attach the documentation. So you can go through the steps one after the other. Very simple and concise. And then you can go through and then add your documentation. So it will give you all the necessary things that you need to do. And then after that, it will tell you what to do. Print the main form, sign the document, scan it, and upload. Attachment type signed application. So if you go through this process one after the other, it will guide you through, and then you can submit all your documents. So after that, you can go to next. The next will be you signing, so you will sign the document, and the next again one will be payment and submission. So you will pay and then you submit all your forms. So because I didn't go through the payment and submission, so you wouldn't have seen, but then the cost for the submitting application is around 1,665 Norwegian krone. That is as of 2025, and that would be around $164 or around 120 pounds. After submitting all your paperwork, what you need to do now is to await for your decision. Processing time could take from 2 to 13 months, and it is very important that at this period you need to start learning the Norwegian language, because it is mandatory for you to have the Norwegian language before you can get a full authorization to practice. So while waiting for the process or for the Norwegian Health Directorate to verify all your documents, you can start learning the language, and probably you would be able to take the exams even before or immediately after the decision letter is being sent back from the Norwegian Health Directorate. So what will happen now is you'll be granted a full authorization. That is, if all your documentations and paperwork meet the Norwegian nursing standard, or you can be granted a partial authorization where they will request you to do supplementary training or adaptation period, or for you to submit a proficiency, a language proficiency result. So it is very unlikely for you to be granted a full authorization if you're from a non-EU or EEA country. You'll be required to do a supplementary training or an adaptation period in order to get the full authorization. But the decision letter from the Norwegian Health Directorate will tell you what you need to submit in order to get the full authorization. So if all your documentations meet the requirements and you only need the language proficiency, you can actually start applying for jobs, and some employers can be willing to give you a conditional offer for you to come into Norway, work as a healthcare worker while learning the language, and after getting your proficiency exam done, you can get full authorization and practice as a registered nurse. However, you can also decide to do the language proficiency yourself while you're waiting for the decision letter, as I said earlier. So by the time it's in, you would have it already. This way the process becomes very quick, but then that is up to you. But I think that's the most advisable and faster option for this process. I'll talk more about the language proficiency exam later in this video, but in the meantime, I just want to stress on the fact that if the decision letter from the Norwegian Health Directorate is sent to you and they state that you need additional requirements like the supplementary training or the practical adaptation period, you will have to apply for a bridging program in a Norway university, normally with the VID university, in order to get this bridging program done. And it's usually around maybe a year course that you can do while working as a healthcare worker, and then after the bridging program you can get full authorization to practice as a nurse. Or if there is no vacancy, or if you're not accepted into the bridging program by the university, the Norwegian Health Directorate can actually allow you to do the adaptation period, but that will be dependent on an employer who is willing to accept you to do the adaptation period with them. So I have another video coming in this series where I'll be giving you step-by-step guide on how to apply to get this bridging program done in order to get your full authorization. So stay tuned. If not subscribe, and I'll be releasing that video very soon. So now let's talk about the language proficiency exams. So as I said earlier, it is very important that you start learning the Norwegian language as soon as possible because it's a mandatory requirement. You can learn the language through Udemy or Preply, which are all through online, and they are very fast and easy, and very affordable. And then you can write the exam by registering with Norseprov, and then you can get the exam done as soon as possible. If you want more insights about how to get this language proficiency exam done, you can chat me personal in my Telegram channel and I can give you more information about that. So now, after all of that, you need to apply for a job. So once you've registered, you can apply directly to hospitals, to nursing homes, to home care agencies, to municipalities for work as a nurse through platforms like the Norwegian Labour and Welfare Administration and the NAV, or you can use fin.no, Job Safari, Indeed Norway, Dedicare, Vacant Healthy. I'll leave links to all of these websites or job sites in the description where you can actually apply for jobs. If you do join my Telegram community, I can help you go through and navigate with all of these job applications after you have got your authorization, whether partial or full authorization. And so look out for it. And then I'll be doing a step-by-step guide for a video on how to apply for a job with or without the full authorization. So now the last step that you need to go through is if you are applying or if you're registering from a non-EU or a non-EEA country like Ghana, India, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, and the rest, you can just go to the Norwegian Immigration Directorate website. And once you have your partial or full authorization, your decision letter from the Norwegian Health Directorate, a conditional offer or a main job offer from the hospital or care home that is recruiting you, you get the residence permit very easily, and it comes within a very few months. So this is the step-by-step process of registering as a nurse or midwife in Norway. If you didn't understand anything, guys, you can leave a comment in the comment section and then I will reply to you, or you can come into the Telegram channel, and if you have any questions, I will try to answer. So I'm actually trying to help as many people in my Telegram channel and my WhatsApp group to get this application and registrations done. So if you're interested, get the link in the description for my Telegram channel. Thanks a lot for watching, and this is the end of the video. I'll see you in the next video where I'll be talking about the step-by-step guide on how to apply for the supplementary program and how to apply for a job with or without full authorization. See you again next time. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.